So you're thinking about building a garden office, a home office in the garden. Uh, that's something I did in 2017, being a freelancer at the time, needing to get out of the house due to, yeah, a mix of things, but children essentially. Um, to get a bit of quiet and concentration. Yeah, it's been a great thing. It's been up for 8 years this year, through all weather, gales, snow. I can name all the weather, but I think you know it. Um, and it's been, yeah, a big asset to have, and it hasn't cost much. So it was 3K at the time. I'd expect that to have risen now for all the materials, but you also don't need to build it like to the same spec. I mean, it's not super high spec, but I went for treated timber, and what else was a major cost? Siding, various things. Yeah, that soon add up. So I wrote it up in the end anyway because I thought it would be useful to uh, share the information, and then I ended up getting um, putting together a sort of a guide, basically, that I could uh, sell because I thought I'd put some work into 3D plans and cutting lists and whatnot. So that's available. But I just thought for a few minutes now I'll go through the blog post and sort of highlight how you would, in theory, get this done. You can go and read it for more detail. The site estimates 41 minutes to read it. I'm not sure it would take you that long. You can skip through a lot of it. So we've got some regulations to start off with, maximum heights, and various boundary restrictions and things to think about, and then the costs in general for building these things. We've come way underneath sort of the average for those by like a factor of 10 at the time. And it does add value to the house in theory, according to a few sources online. So I'll just jump into the build, because if I'm going to try and do this in 5 minutes, let's tackle that. So the back of the garden, in our case, was unused, at least when we moved in. There were flower beds, and a path running up through, like a concrete path, which I ended up using for some stability in the base. You can see a level in this picture, sort of a rough level of how we were going to move soil from the back to the front, to level the whole ground out. And you see it again there, what we needed to do. I moved a lot of soil around. Looking back, might have been a more efficient way to do that, but I try not to think of that too much. In the end, we had nice flat ground, and I started just laying out blocks for the size of 6x5, which we were aiming for. We were also thinking about a drainage situation because the garden gets quite boggy. So yeah, along the top here and all the way down the side for 20-30 meters, we put a drainage ditch in down the side, and also we could run our cabling from the house up there as well. Okay, so we considered various footing options. I went with the cheapest and the easiest. Underneath each one of these concrete blocks is a mix of sand and hardcore, with a bit of cement in, and that will just stop any heave in the ground in theory. And there's, how many of those did we do? More than this, I think, as well. 1, 2, 4. Yeah, anyway, 25-30 of those. The floor spacing, way too wide. Like, if you come to do it, invest a little bit more in the spacing. I sort of had to go back and put more flooring in to try and account for that, because yeah, you'll get flex in your floorboards essentially if they're too wide. Obviously these noggings pre-cut by the timber merchant were very helpful for that, so they kind of stiffened things up a little bit. But yeah, I went with 3 layers of OSB in the end for a floor, which was probably unnecessary. All the detail about centers and whatnot are here. Let's see. Also some drilling tips, because I was coming at this like completely fresh. I was getting some advice from friends and people who'd worked with structures a lot more than I have. I mean, built stuff, which I hadn't. Not anything significant anyway. Um, Put some membrane underneath. This was going to hold in the fiberglass insulation, which go in between each of these, as you can see here. And then some thermal membrane basically on top of that. This is in theory to keep the wind from blowing up and to give some insulation to the floor and to retain whatever heat we have inside. And this acts as a vapor barrier as well, so at least any cold we have or wet we have on the inside will stay there and not transfer in from the outside. Then I went ahead and built the walls, simple framework, and they needed a little bit of finessing to get them to stay in place while being raised. OSB, simple cladding around the outside. And again, I had to go back for more rafters because, the spacings were very optimistic at the time in my original drawings. So they got doubled up before the roof started going on. It's the way the floor is. I think I just managed to get to 2.5 from the ground around the building, but I think it's a bit of a grey area as to where my eaves are there. I wouldn't like to measure it now, but it's been up for years, all good. A little on the high side it might be. In the plans that I made, we've improved the headers over the door and window. There won't be as much height above them here in a standard construction, so there won't be quite as much timber above them basically, but it's still got the weight of the roof on it, even though it's tipped to the back. The weight distribution will be quite heavy at the front, of course, as well. So that's been improved. I think under here we improved as well the weight, the loading, spreading the weight. We've doubled up here at least, but that had room for improvement. So this isn't Tyvek, obviously it's just a weatherproof membrane wrapped all the way around. And you start to see the doors and windows go in, second-hand, both of those. So it didn't cost a fortune. I had to travel a bit of a way to get each one, but they all went in fine. One thing to bear in mind is ground clearance with these as well. I've gone a little too close to the ground, and when the wood swells in wet weather, basically the door can stick nowadays. So I have taken some off the bottom, but I think I need to go back and do some more. And then I've started to clad here already just to get things covered over. I think this was like a 2-3 month thing in the end, in between work and everything else. It was every weekend pretty much. Can be done much quicker when you know what you're doing and you're well planned, but a load of timber delivered into the site, and just a lot of time sorting through everything and getting methodically sort of built up with everything sealed correctly. So a bit of batten on the front, and then putting some cheap cladding on the front there, and I had some siding, which you'll see in a minute, for the sides and back. Agricultural siding, it was a little bit on the cheaper side. It needs replacing or painting at this stage, I think. Had an electrician come in and wire this up. Beautiful job. Felt reassured that was all done safely, and no worries about drilling through any wires. I know where everything is, it's all run correctly, and we've got a nice disc board on the wall and fibre coming up from the house as well, which he helped put in. So we've got more membrane on the roof, bricks aren't there anymore. Siding overlapped with plenty of sealant, and this is where the services run in. Again, siding. It's held up like these whole 8 years. There's not a blemish on them. I mean, it's a light green. It's not super attractive, but doesn't stand out too much either. Maybe spraying it black or brown or something might be more in keeping, but I'm always tempted to just take all the siding off and go for something a bit nicer as well. But yeah, costs haven't gone down in the intervening 8 years. Then on the inside we have, as you can see here, fiberglass compressed in, and the same vapor barrier we have on the floor, which is joined to the floor just below the OSB here. So there's that sort of a lip around, it's sealed all the way. So for heat retention and a vapor barrier, that should do the trick. We've got a TV mount on the wall here. I haven't used it. I've actually used a screen in the end, but I'm tempted to go back and get one of these larger TVs that are available nowadays, with a sort of a HDMI inlet at the top and the bottom for that there. Trying to think ahead, and of course electricity. So once that's done, that was a horrendous job. Loads of fibers everywhere. Wear a mask ideally just to stop the coughing. I don't think there's much danger with the fibers, but yeah, do as much as you can outside and wear a mask. Then we got onto the plasterboarding essentially. Yeah, this is what it looks like at this stage. It's got some lights ready to go outside, and all set up. Not a super light building either. I've got a very small window in there, so I might want to think about some bigger windows or doors to bring in more light. It's not something I'm too fussed about. I quite like being sheltered from the bright sun a lot of the time as well. But blinds, yeah, you know, lots of solutions for that. People who have used the guide I put out actually have sent me some really nice builds back. They've done workbenches and boxes and storage sheds inside of the building, set up big screens, and yeah, just great spaces to be in they've created. But I wanted to just share this as like a walkthrough of what you can expect, and I think I'll just do a tour like alongside a how-to in coming weeks, but I just thought I'd throw this up now, and yeah, you guys can get a quick walkthrough and understanding of what it takes to put a garden room together. Not super complicated, it's just a bit time consuming, but if you get everything planned correctly in the cutting list and everything, you can save a lot of time, and with enough labour as well, you can get things thrown in quite quickly. Also, it doesn't have to be 6 by 5 meters, right? You can do 3 by 4. I mean, I have to heat this big space. I don't sit, I only sit in like 2 by 3 meters of it. I wouldn't like it to be too small, but I think 6 by 5 is, yeah, larger than it probably needs to be in terms of heating and usable space. My desk is currently under this window. I'll show you the tour later. Like, it's a big mess at the moment, to be honest. I have thousands of objects in here. I need to have a big clear down, then maybe do the tour, or have the clear down as part of a video in a series itself, because I think there's a lot to be gained in minimizing what you have as well. Anyway, yeah, scrimmed and filled in the plasterboard gaps. Not a great plasterboarding job. It's quite basic, really. I probably should have gone horizontal on these and overlapped for strength, but yeah, we've got siding on the outside to shore up the frame, and we've got noggings between all of the uprights, so I wasn't too worried about robustness. The whole thing connects as well. There's no major gaps, Okay, so apart from the ceiling, I should have chosen the smaller plasterboards, which probably anyone who's built anything probably knows. The smaller, thinner ones that you can hoik up on your own. I went for the big ones and tried to use a T support to get them up with the help of a friend. Yeah, wasn't a fun afternoon, but we got there. And then I plastered myself with, you can just about make it here, I think it's a Knauf product. Yeah, just use plaster if it's easier. But this was nice and easy to do myself, and it was white as a finish, so no need to paint. At least I was fine with that as a finish. Plenty of extra tips there. And then the flooring was a dead simple click flooring, front to back. Didn't take long, relatively. It looks quite fresh. And started to move some furniture in. Doesn't look like this anymore, but this was how I initially set it up. The screen's still there, and the projector's still the same. But either this TV to replace it or a better projector is the direction I'll go with that next. So no great shots of the inside. Like I say, I'll come to that later, but that's essentially how I went about doing it. And some notes on like the thermal properties of it during snow days as well, which may be a bit overkill, but yeah, it works well. Like it heats up quickly and it keeps the heat, so I'm dead happy with that. Especially in the UK, we have this mild weather that occasionally swings too hot, too cold. It sort of does a good job of staying around in the middle. And yeah, no air conditioning used because it just about stays where it needs to. So the plans are available. I'll drop a link in the description. And what do we, let's see if this link still works. Yeah, you can get them. They're £10 at the moment. That price may go up if, you know, it makes sense to, but right now 10's fine. We've got the 6x5 model and the 3x5 model, which isn't updating the picture, but yes, you can see a picture of yours truly. That's the 3x5 there, which might make a lot more sense for people. Yeah, you can see the header's updated above the door. In fact, I might have even done more to it since then, and just shored up things a little bit with double struts going into the ceiling. For the roof, these are normal allowable heights versus that one, which is a little on the high side. So yeah, feel free to have a look at that, grab a copy, and get in touch if you have any questions, because I'm more than happy to answer. I've actually answered dozens and dozens of questions already on the build process, but I'm more than happy to go into more and probably put together a FAQ, I think, because there's enough to warrant that at this stage. In terms of 3D plans, these won't be the SketchUp files. It's literally like dozens of angles of the build process to give you an idea of what you'll need to do and how to handle corners. Internal structures, again, you can go ahead and add whatever you like to it. I give some ideas for that. Yeah, I think that wraps it up. I've probably gone way over the 5 minutes. We're looking more like a 10, aren't we? At least 15 maybe. But that's where we're at. You'll get a cutting list as well with this, so you can hopefully have everything ready to go and send to your timber merchant, who can pre-cut everything for you, and you'll be away. But yeah, drop me a comment below, say DIY in your comment if you have a question to ask me and I know you're human, because there's a heck of a lot of bots out there at the moment. So if you say DIY, I will respond to your comment. And yeah, look forward to hearing from you. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.